Today we have the privilege of speaking with Father Roy Panel, who embarked on a profound journey in search of truth. A journey that led him from Anglicanism to the Catholic Church. In this conversation, we will explore what it means to seek the truth and how this quest guided him toward such a transformative decision. Father Roy,
Hello.
what does search for truth means for you? When did you start feeling that this was a fundamental need in your life?
Forever, going back right to understanding, or beginnings of understanding. I think, and I hope everybody has that kind of experience, that they want to know the meaning of life as it is for all of us, but particularly that whether we have, each of us, a particular role to play, a part to play in this world. What's our vocation, in fact? And I think Christian people, Catholics or non-Catholics, always must look at how God has called them to be what they are and for what reason.
Okay. So do you think that it is a universal calling for everybody?
Priesthood. Christianity.
Yeah.
Everyone in the world called. Yes, everybody in the world, I believe, you believe, is called to know Christ. God couldn't come any further towards us than do what he did in Christ. And if we can't respond to that, or we find nothing in us that responds to that, then surely we are very sad people. If that is the ultimate truth, well, that's the decision to make, isn't it? If Christ is the ultimate truth about me and the world and creation and the universe, then I must follow.
When you were Anglican, did you feel spiritually fulfilled, or were you already with some doubts and questions?
Well, that's a good question, that. It's a very good question. Why is it a good question? It's a good question because it's what happens to all of us. We live as Christian people, we live with doubt and faith side by side. When we're growing up in the time of our sort of becoming, teenage time and so on, and early childhood and, well, late childhood and actually probably forever, we are obviously going to be distracted by many other things. When I was growing up, my father died when I was 6. That really put not a question mark on my life and our life, my mother and I, but it did implant a certain sense of insecurity. So I felt insecure very often during my growing up time. But it was actually alongside that, and maybe because of it, that God called me to exercise priesthood in the church, somehow, somewhere.
So that triggered you, your desire to, to question Anglicanism, start looking.
Actually, labels didn't really matter. Anglicanism, I don't know, it sounds like communism when you say that. Anglicanism, it just happened to be where I was growing up at that time. Somebody asked me to go to church with them. I went. Now, that occasion was really quite emotional. Well, it was emotional in a way because I discovered something. And that was when the priest was at the altar offering the Mass, and this is in the Church of England, I came away thinking that this wasn't just a kind of assembly like school, because I'm used to that, but this was something, or a place where something was happening.
Mm-hmm.
I came away from there knowing I'd been present where something happened. And it hadn't got to do with the fact that there were people there and a priest there. Well, it got a lot to do with the fact that that's why it was there at that particular time. But the point was that something was happening from the outside in. As well as from the inside out. We sang, we prayed, we listened to him talking and teaching. But I felt, no, there was something else there. Something else was present that was making something happen. So I needed to know what that something was.
Looking at the origins of the Anglicanism,
Don't let's do that.
what aspect made you doubt that it was a religion authentically inspired by God? Or,
Say that again. It was
looking at the origins.
of Anglicanism.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because Henry VIII
Oh, here we go. Yes.
was the inventor, no, more or less, of the Anglicanism. Was this?
Well, he and a few others. I think he wasn't on his own. He knew he was working alongside people who would be very sympathetic to what he wanted to do. But of course, he wanted to do it for certain reasons, and they wanted to do it for other reasons. I don't think they ever agreed with each other. In fact, we have to face the fact that he rather nastily got rid of those who began to feel they didn't agree with him. But that's another time, isn't it?
Yeah. Do you believe understanding the history of a religion is crucial to discerning whether it carries the truth?
Our religions.
Yeah, because sometimes.
Or you mean the faiths of the Christian
faith, yeah,
churches?
With believing in the faith of the Catholic Church, you can really understand. This is my belief. It comes from Jesus.
Absolutely.
But after, with the Anglicanism or with the Protestant beliefs, there is like an invention.
Okay, no, I never believed that. No. The church in this country, the church in England, goes back. Well, this town is called Chesterfield, right? It's a Latin name. It means a little barracks, a military barracks in a field. That's what it means.
Oh.
And that barracks was where Roman soldiers came and lived and worked and stayed for a few years. I don't know how long.
Yeah.
One of them or two of them were Christians, and that spread. And it spread like a contagion, really, a good contagion into this area. That's where the Catholic faith came to this country. That was the church in England. Henry VIII decided to, now what's the word? Not privatize, the opposite of privatizing. He made the church a part of state, the political world. And he did that for his own reasons. So yes, he interfered with that continuity. He interfered with that apostolic succession. He interfered with that marvelous history of faith in this land. He had no possibility of changing the faith of people. But I'm afraid he tried, or at least his supporters tried. And hence its move towards a Protestant and to a national church. Of course, the Catholic Church isn't a national church. It may have the word Roman in front of it, but it isn't a national church. It's a supranational church. It's over nations. It's universal, because that's what the word Catholic means.
What elements of Catholicism convinced you that it is the true church founded by Christ?
The Anglican Church.
The Catholic.
The Catholic Church.
Okay.
I think it was more that I began to doubt whether the Church of England, the Anglican Church, was able to proclaim the Catholic faith anymore. At least it was beginning to not really understand it, or at least not prepared to proclaim the Catholic faith. When I was an Anglican priest, it was quite possible to teach the Catholic faith, the faith of the Church, the faith of Christ, within the Church of England. Little by little, those supports, those heritages, those things that have come to us from the past were being taken away. I'll give you one example, and that is the example of the teaching about the Eucharist. That first time I went to an Anglican Eucharist, as I said, I felt that something was being given by God. Something was coming down to us, if you like, from heaven. Little by little, I found it very difficult to teach that within the Anglican Church, because people would say, well, it depends what your view is, Father. It does, and I don't have that view. And I would say, well, fair enough, we'll have to stick to our own views. But how can you do that in a community of Christians? You can't have one and many views. I know even in the Catholic Church there are views, certain views about certain things, but on the whole,
there is
it's
one tradition.
It's a solid.
There is one tradition.
It's one well, yes, one tradition. So I found it increasingly difficult. I also have to say at this point that I think I should have been a Roman Catholic, long before I did become one in 1994.
Because sometimes somebody can say, but why not Orthodox, for example? Because they are
Orthodox.
The faith is quite similar sometimes.
With the Orthodox faith?
Yeah, for example.
Oh, yeah. Well,
it's a good question, because somebody can say that if there is one true, maybe is the Catholic religion the true religion, or maybe the Orthodox, because they are quite similar. But there are some differences, because, for example, there is the Pope in the Catholic Church. So probably because the Catholic Church is this is my vision, the true one, so the authentic one that we can discover from, for example, the first writings about the church. If we can go back in the history, we can find that probably the only one is the Catholic Church. But,
well, it wasn't till the 11th century, wasn't it? 10th, 11th century, that the break finally happened. The break is about two empires, really, isn't it? It's about the Western Roman Empire and the Eastern the Eastern Empire. Both of them had the seat of the emperor at one time, one following the other. I don't know if at one time there were two emperors. I don't know. Mm-hmm. Now, that's the basis of it, Eastern and Western, isn't it? The differences between us are actually so incredibly few. Mm-hmm. I think some of us become a little bit frustrated about how long this has gone on, and how incorrect and how wrong it is. There's so much that we have in common that it's
because there was a division, but at the beginning we were together. So this is
for 10 centuries.
The roof is the same at the end.
Absolutely.
Anyway.
And I mean, the Holy Father, the Pope, the supremacy of Peter in the Church was both Eastern and Western. Mm-hmm. Except that in the end, I don't know much about this, but I do know. I mean, I can't be an expert on this. That's what I mean. But I do know that there's a lot of a difference between East and West, mm-hmm. and the politics that went with it in the countries in the East, mm-hmm. and those in the West of Europe. So, yes, I can see there must be something there that that has caused this division.
Yeah. Why do you think many people do not question their faith today, or feel the need to embark on a search for truth?
Right. I get that. I think I get that. You mean they don't question their faith?
Yeah, because a lot of people we can see every day, they are living a life without think about the truth,
You
about
mean, okay,
God.
the universal truth is that God sent Christ. Is that the sort of, you're saying that that doesn't enter into their...
Yeah, people doesn't matter about the search of truth. They think that there is a philosophical problem, maybe,
Okay, no, I
but
understand.
not
Yeah.
a need.
Yeah.
I think that the search of truth is an individual need that everybody has to
Yes. So it's not one you
search.
copy. It's not one
But
it's inside yourself, that
yeah,
need. Yeah.
it's inside everybody, and everybody has to start this journey with the search of truth. But I think that there are the most of the people don't care about that. Why do you think that people now don't care?
I think they've been overtaken by um, the need to possess well, things, really. It has to be secularism, that is, the world of the age that we live in, is very akin to materialism. And quite a few philosophies are about materialism, aren't they? They're about how we cope, how we deal with things. And things are so very important to us. That means that most people don't really have a sense of either what's beyond them and beyond this world.
Mhm.
And a lot of them don't have a need to know these things. When I was about 7, my mum bought me an encyclopedia. Now, I can't remember much about the encyclopedia, but it was only one volume. It wasn't 12 volumes, it was one volume. And it had a picture of a woman sitting on a rock or somewhere in the fields. And she was looking up into the sky, and she had a look of total wonder. Now, wonder means all sorts of things. It means to marvel at, but it also means to think about, doesn't it? To wonder about something.
Mhm.
In her face was this feeling that, there was more to this than that she knew or had yet begun to fully understand. And but she obviously had a desire to know, you know, that which she did not know. And her face was, it was a picture. And I remembered that. I still remember that picture today from a book that was, nearly 80 years ago.
So
So it's about, I don't know, it's about knowing that there is a many splendid thing around us, but not knowing how to find it, or at least thinking it's really hard to find, because we're surrounded, if you like, by material stuff. But we do have what's called a spirit. And that spirit can respond to who's calling us to listen and hear. And that woman was waiting for that. And the point of that article in that encyclopedia was, this has been one of the biggest, one of the kind of characteristics of being human, that we want to consider what our place is in the whole of creation. And actually, the bigger the creation seems to become these days, in physics and so on, the more actually we feel much, much, much smaller. But that shouldn't stop us looking towards the things of the spirit.
yeah, because I think probably people are full of money, are full of
Or not full of money.
things sometimes, but they believe that the money is the most important thing. Maybe.
Oh, it's what makes us. I mean, you could almost say, you know, that to quote the philosopher badly, to be is to possess, to shop is to be. You know, I am because I shop.
Do you believe that maybe the television is like a new idol in the modern times?
Well, I think it's a well. If we think about two things, if we think about message and means, message and what's the word? Oh, I've forgotten the word. Message and medium. That's right, medium and message. There was a philosopher, an American, who made that recognition between message and medium. That is what something says and how it's brought to us. The television is responsible for bringing all kinds of things to us and confronting us with all kinds of things. The internet, of course, is capable of doing 1,000,000 times greater than that. We are absolutely overwhelmed with messages coming through certain medium.
Maybe this is the problem, because we have a lot of information.
Oh,
Then most of the time unuseful information.
can I give you my list? There's facts, there's information, there's knowledge, but there's no wisdom.
Yeah, the problem is that. Because there is a mess of information around us, and we cannot understand what is true, what is false.
But our spirit can. We have the means.
We have to understand what is true, but it's more difficult now because we have this cloud around people. It's like this cloud of information that surround them.
Well, that may be so, but we're also people who have other strengths that are not visible, or at least not identifiable in any part of the body. Where the soul is, one can only guess. I mean, well, we know. Let's talk about the spirit in a person. The spirit in a person can identify. The spirit in a person can direct a person to be able to discard things that they know are harmful and
to reduce
leading them in the wrong.
And to reduce the noise of the world.
Turn it down.
I don't have the television. This is
I've just got a television. I've had it a month, and I haven't watched it yet.
Okay, this is good.
People come and watch it. I don't watch it. I mean, actually, it looks awful up there, doesn't it? Because it's a black rectangle, and then the others are great works of art. See it as it really is.
I remember that St. Pius of Pietrelcina told San Pius, told that
Padre Pio,
told that with the television was like a new Beelzebul, a new devil, because with the television we are getting a lot of bad information.
Seekers after truth should be advised not to take that seriously, not to take that television seriously. But of course, we believe that everything we see somehow on the television is truth. Do you know, I realized that when I saw the headlines in a national paper, national press, in 3 of the nationals that day, the story of what happened last night on EastEnders, on the soap, that somehow was being portrayed on that newspaper as truth, as an event. Well, it was an event. It was an event in drama, and it was on the television. But of course, I think what's happening is that people can't see the distinction between fact and fantasy.
This is a problem now with this generation that believe that watching the television is giving you the truth.
It's okay if you of course, there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, it's neutral as a medium.
Yeah, but the problem is that if we don't watch the television like we do, it's okay. But if
If
a
other,
family is watching all day television,
I know,
something will change in their mind.
but then they won't know it's happening.
Yeah, they don't
No,
know.
I know, I know. I remember a lady once at one of my parishes as an Anglican, and she said, "But Father," she said, "it must be true." I said, "What?" She was telling me something. She said, "I heard it in the hairdressers."
Huh.
I said, "You mean it's true because that's where you heard it?" Yes.
Mm.
And you know, it's like, well, I know it's true. I've seen it on the telly.
Father, did you ever feel isolated or challenged during your search of truth? And if so, what gave you the strength to persevere,
Okay.
to go ahead? Because
Yes.
I know that to search the truth, it's like to break, to break a wall and to build a new life, something like this.
I understand. I often feel I am surrounded by a lot of people. I must say I'm very lucky. People who I can relate to and who can relate to me. Now that's here in this parish, and I don't want it to be any bigger. It's big enough, this parish. I meet people every day. It's wonderful, but there are times when I do feel incredibly alone and, if you like, almost vulnerable and open to all manner of fears. And it happens. It's human. Um, During my life, I think I've had to go through some rather difficult passages where, I mean, aloneness or a loneliness was inevitable. Um, Not deaths, not bereavements, but consequences of other, well, my own stupidity or other people's um, behaviour. Yes, I have. Now, at those times, I have felt um, very isolated. But I must say that, you know, in those times, God's always sent to me someone or people who will know or let me know they're alongside me. And also, I think it's worked the other way, that, you know, other people have perhaps thanked God for me for being alongside them at that bad time. But it's never kicked me out of, I must say that I've never felt that it's taken the truth away from me.
Do you think that the search of truth is like to go in a desert, in a desert,
In a desert, yeah.
and to abandon something?
It's very good. Yeah. There's nothing like going out on your own and feeling a kind of the blessing of aloneness, not loneliness, but aloneness. It's that woman again sitting on a rock in the middle of a field and gazing into the cosmos and thinking, what's my part in it? And I think there are certain places on earth very near to all of us where we can go and experience something of, I say, aloneness, but somehow also knowing that we're not alone.
Mm.
And looking out today, I'm thinking I'll go out and see a bit of a wider vision, you know, somewhere in the countryside. It's very helpful.
Mhm. What would you say to someone who is currently doubting their faith or feels,
Doubting,
yes,
yeah.
and or feels their current beliefs no longer fully satisfy them?
Oh dear. Oh dear. It's it's difficult to say that there'll be only one answer and one way of. When you say, what would you say to? It can't be said, I would always say this. I can't. But if anyone comes and they have that kind of situation that's going through their mind, then thank God they've come to talk or ask what they could do. But I'm afraid, well, not I'm afraid, I'm glad to say it will be an individual response to that and getting to know them a bit better so that we can find why doubts have arisen. Sometimes people cannot get over the death of a loved one. But their reasons for having that problem can differ. There's not one answer to that. Sometimes it's telling them to do something that they perhaps would find helpful, or pray something, or anything. But in those situations, I can honestly say that I know that God's Spirit is alive and present to help both people to open up to each other. And it's an individual response. There's nothing, you can't, it's not on the peg.
Because sometimes maybe there are people that are building barriers. They don't want to know a different vision, if not a personal vision. And sometimes they are not, how to say, used to look beyond their personal vision. They don't want to look and search the truth, maybe. So if, for example, they say, it's a classical thing that they are saying, for example, I don't want to go for a confession because also the priest is a sinner. So they don't want to look at the truth. They don't want to look why the reconciliation is very important for them. So they don't want to understand about that.
Okay.
Maybe.
Okay. I do know that there are people who are so constricted by their doubts and the reasons for their doubts that they say nobody can help me. They for a while maybe they say that I am beyond help, right? Beyond care. As far as sinners forgiving sinners is concerned, it's amazing, but in the Christian Catholic understanding, God has given to sinners the authority to receive sinners back into absolution, through absolution, into forgiveness, right?
This is very wonderful because
Wonderful. It's
Jesus,
it's amazing.
they think that this is a problem, but it's wonderful. For example, because Christ chosen fishers. Christ did not choose, for example, a prince or
no. He chose Peter, who denied him
for 3 times.
Yeah, at least, and he chose others who were weak as anything to actually be. There's a wonderful picture of Pope Francis making his confession. Have you seen it? He's kneeling in a confessional to a priest.
Yeah, maybe.
And of course, it goes against all the thoughts in our minds that the Holy Father, you know, the Supreme Bishop of the Catholic Church, you know, can possibly be a sinner. I mean, how could he possibly commit sins? Well, we don't know, but there he is making his confession. There's a prayer in the Anglican form of confession, which they do have, and that is, go in peace. This is from the priest to the penitent. Go in peace. The Lord has put away your sin, and pray, please, for me, who am also a sinner.
That's good. Father Roy, at the end of this testimony, would you give a direct message to those not Catholic to encourage them to search the truth?
Of course I would, yes. Please search for the truth. Yeah, people, we're here actually to discover who we are and whose we are. That's who we're here for. That's the truth search. That's what we're here to do. We can all do it in we do it all in different ways. We go through different pilgrimages, different voyages, different journeys. I've been through one journey that's different to almost anyone else's. Other people's are very, very similar. People come in all kinds of ways to the truth. I'm still, obviously, still coming to the truth, becoming to the truth. Every time I read bits of scripture, as you know, I say Mass at our convent, which is just down the road. It means that I preach every day. And I preach on the gospel or the readings for the day from the scriptures. I am amazed how, if I give myself to God when the words are read from scripture, from Holy Scripture, from the Old and the New Testaments, wherever it comes from, I am amazed at somehow I can discover new things that I've never ever seen before, or things that have been made clear to me. It happened just this morning, actually. This morning we were at Mass. You've been at Mass today. We had Simeon and Anna, didn't we?
Yeah.
And the Holy Family. I mean, can you imagine? You know, it wasn't vast numbers when the Lord came to his temple. There wasn't vast numbers. There were just these
Two people.
two people. Today at Mass, I had two people.
Yeah.
Just two. I had one sister who was 94, religious sister, a nun, and then the superior who's younger, and me.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just like Jerusalem.
With all the communion saints and all the angels, the Lord, and the
they were
Mother.
all there. Yeah, they were all there. But us three, you know, I said, which are you, sister? I don't know. I said, no, it doesn't matter. Here we are. We've come to the Lord's temple, like Mary and Joseph brought Jesus. And here we are, and the three of us, you know. And what a better way of saying the Mass for the, you know, the sister. One sister was in a wheelchair. The other sister had very bad chest cough. But there we are. And it was as if there were millions there.
Do you believe that to search the truth is painful sometimes?
Yes, of course. Yeah.
Because we need to abandon something, no?
Something has to go.
Something has to go.
There's a lovely song by, do you know the American singer Joni, oh, what's her name? Mitchell. Joni Mitchell. There's a lovely song called Both Sides Now, and she says, something, 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 I don't know what, things keep changing in my life. And then she finally says, something's gained. No, something's lost, but something's gained.
We are people, we are me and you, that we are always looking for the truth. We have abandoned a lot of things. I have left my country to come here.
Was that a faith move?
Yes, because we believe that God wants us here. We know that leaving everything is painful, but we know that following Jesus is always better.
Hallelujah. Now, I must tell you that in my instance, the changes that have happened to me, you know, since teenage time, since I began to put sort of things together, the changes have actually meant disregarding and doing away with certain things in order to go forward. Yeah. And I just thank God that I've had, well, not always, I'm not saying it's worked every time, but I'm thank God that I've been able to be, you know, not felt, oh, I don't know, what's the word, vulnerable. The strength has been there to see me through the difficulties. And yes, they are difficult.
Okay. Yes. It's good sometimes to have the understanding that living or what to say, abandon of our idols sometimes is good because you can go more near to God.
Can I
And
tell you
then
one
you
of the
can
things that
be
happens
happy.
in the in the Catholic Church's book on baptism? You know, the service, the worship for baptism and confirmation. There's a special inclusion that can go in for those countries where people before Christ came to them, before, you know, personally, I mean, they had other faiths, or at least other beliefs, like devil worship, like, I don't know, all sorts of things, little gods on, you know, models and so on,
Yeah.
fetishes, all sorts of things. One of the items in the baptism service for them, if they wanted to do it, was to burn at the altar their objects of their fetish, their pre-religion,
Idols. Yeah.
their pre-faith. Yeah. Now I reckon that could happen here. Like, I know someone who is, well, in order to profess the Catholic faith, they were told, they were given this idea, this spiritual idea, this revelation that they had to give up gambling because it was ruining their life and the life of their family. Now, I don't know whether it happened in the end, but I think it would be, you know, it would be very right to burn those betting those betting tickets in front of.
Thanks a lot, Father.
It was a pleasure.
It was very helpful to understand your journey in the search of the
It's still
truth.
going on.
And we are still fighting to reach God. So
Yeah, I climbed a mountain once in Italy, in Switzerland, with a friend of mine, and it was opposite the Eiger Mountain, you know, with the north face of the Eiger, so we could see the Eiger over there, and we were going up the Foulhorn. And when we got to the place where there was lots of scree, you know, broken stones, which meant you went forward 3 and you came back 2. So the journey was tough. And, you know, up 3, down 2, up 3, down 2. So, okay, it was pretty normal that. We knew it was going to happen. But we made it in the end. But I got up there first. It wasn't a great summit, but it was at the top. And I shouted down to Charlie and I said, Charlie, you won't believe this. I said, there's a cafe up here.
Yes, beautiful place there. Okay. Thank you, Father.
Okay.
God
God bless.